Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Captivate, Pivot, and Thrive series, where we highlight real stories of resilience, reinvention, and new possibilities. Each story follows a journey from the challenge to the pivot and to what it means to actually truly thrive. Today, I'm chatting with Dr. Mike Chetta, the current director of the MS in Higher Psychology program at UCF, and a researcher who currently conducts research on the use of artificial intelligence for selection and assessment, while also investigating the impact of work perceptions and motivation on outcomes of safety and biosecurity in livestock production. Welcome, Mike. What
Thanks.
challenges are you seeing in workforce development and in your field right now? And how are those changes and challenges affected your business and your clients?
I think one of the biggest challenges I've seen from the consulting side when I'm doing external consulting is clients are becoming way more reserved with the types of projects that they'll undertake. The turnover of project managers and key stakeholders on the account really keeps putting projects back. So I think it's more of being focused on these smaller projects. And with that, if they can have internal employees do that, obviously there's less onboarding. They can kind of control those people and more of their time. So I think they're more apt to bring those projects in-house, get them done quickly. And that's kind of impacting, what we do on a consulting side. Also, as part of that, I think there's something to be said for education over the last few years as well. There's a decline in people going for graduate degrees, especially business, HR, org development, even like marketing type roles. We've seen that the pool of people who applies gets smaller, and also with that, the pool of people who apply and the quality of those people also changes, and the level of experience they have. Seeing a real shift towards like skills in general, and looking more at how qualified folks can be qualified on paper or qualified academically, and that doesn't necessarily translate into actual work, which might also be part of the decline. There is a disconnect between formal education in this country, K through 12, but even more so higher education, and what's required in the working world. And that's even further compounded besides economics and how companies work is the growth of AI being used for a lot of parts of work. The parts that humans were doing, or the parts that employees were doing, that were very I guess hard skill based, but very rudimentary hard skill based and administrative, and those roles are not as important. Now the things that are important are communication and being able to tell a story to certain groups of stakeholders, problem solving, critical thinking. Maybe overall the biggest predictor of job success for anything is conscientiousness. Employers are looking for that, and they're looking for trustworthiness, employees, dedication. There's something to that. There's something outside of, oh, you can use Excel, you can use this computer skill, you've demonstrated this, you have a degree. Companies are not just going to hire a bunch of people with degrees. Clients are not just going to hire a firm to do work because they have a bunch of paper qualifications. It's really focused on what are our problems, what do we need to solve, and how can we most efficiently and quickly get there. Even internally over the last few years, as we bring in people for interns, associates, we've kind of revamped on our own, and we're IO psychologists, so we are kind of experts in assessment. We've changed our own assessment process to be much more deliverable, work sample focused. We're doing structured interviews and all those good things you should do, but we're actually looking for how people solve a work sample, situational judgment test for something that might even not be related to the field or the work that they do. We're trying to see how they will deal with uncertainty, and if they can ask smart questions and kind of take information that's given to them and kind of use it to deliver a product, like have utility or ROI, or if in a situation they can link it to the KPIs of the organization they've been told about. I think that idea, if somebody can work with a little information and turn it into a lot, that's more valuable than having them be able to, rotely spit out information that they've learned in the past. As you know, we have AI now at a level where it's really able to amalgamate, book knowledge, anecdotal evidence, and put that together. So now it's really the job of those that work with that data to tell a story with it and really make it feel like it's pertinent to that situation, know the audience, know the value of it. So we're trying to do that in our own work. I see clients doing that internally. And then in more recent times, as I talk to clients, they are looking to develop new selection and assessment tools that, of course, utilize AI as a component of it, whether it be some sort of chat bot that assesses for personality, but then they're also looking at what can we give people that'll show us they can do things. And I'm like, well, obviously then an inventory is not going to work, or a survey or something static. You want something that's alive. This is why some of the best jobs in some of the jobs that are the most easily selected for or most best selection processes are jobs where there's a certain set of skills that are required and there's real life parity in what they do for the selection assessment. Again, in the history of our field and also selection in general, police, fire department, doctors, there's certain jobs, vocational jobs, manufacturing, even welding skills, GC, contracting, construction. You can tell people, can you do this? Show us you can do this. Not that you did in the past. Show us now that you can do that. Even in white collar jobs and in jobs involving HR, marketing, sales, you can give people a scenario and go, what would you do? Or if this is what happens, how would you recover from this problem? How would you take this as a possible win or success? And you're giving them scenarios, having them work through that instead of having them possibly fail on the job. I think in the big deal of all of this is we're looking for the application of the skills people already have, but how they meld them into doing the job. And again, at a place where you don't have to have all this rote knowledge anymore, and you don't have to have a technical specialization. You have to be able to bring things together and be a detective of sorts. The soft skills change the way we work, and having those skills is where companies are going. That's where we're going because we need to work in the new future of work, and it's not a workforce that's labor heavy. It's going to be a workforce that's skills heavy, and that's a very different thing.
How are you reimagining the services that your company provides to clients? What are you recommending to your clients to deal with these like challenges that you were talking about?
So I think I might have slightly alluded to it before, but I think on our side, we've changed how we're looking just for consultants for our company. When I'm running the master's program at UCF, I'm looking for different types of things now when we're bringing students in. And everyone's got a degree from a good accredited university. We start looking at their writing sample. We start looking at their analytical abilities, the jobs they've had, and what they list as their work outcomes, because we see that that's a demonstration of soft skills and abilities. And that's been, I guess, pretty good over the last few years to pivot less away from quantitative grades, numbers, degrees, and looking more at the person as a whole and how they express themselves and how they explain concepts in a very easy to understand manner that shows that they have the ability to like work in a variety of environments. So with all of that, that's what we're trying to do with our clients as we talk to them and they want to hire and they want to bring people on for projects. They say, hey, we want to select people, we want to hire, we want to assess, we want to promote. And we express to them that we could still do some of the things that we've done for the last 100 years in the field, 50 years. There's things you want to do structured interviews. You do want to do knowledge assessment if it's key to the job, but that's not enough anymore. We have to give them these inboxes, work samples, real life scenarios, situational judgment tests. But we're looking for something that's greater than if you look at someone on paper, if you have 5 people that are the same, they're not actually the same. They can't possibly be the same. How do we get to those other skills and get those other abilities that will transfer the job, especially if the job changes in 6 months or a year because the company loses funding for something, or the company brings in a new tool that puts AI as part of the compensation process now, or AI as part of sales, or AI as part of research and development. So those folks can't just do one job because they'll also be obsolete. And if that's the case, they'll self-select out, or you'll have to let them go and you'll have to start the process again. But we can't do things the same exact way we've done them for the last 50 to 100 years because technology and the world and resources have changed. What skills will be marketable in 20, 30 years? I mean, it might be all soft skills because the technology is going to change so quickly that there's no way higher education will develop programs, get accredited, teach people, and put them through in a manner that it takes several years for that to happen. It'll already be outdated. We're at the exponential part of the curve where technology is growing quickly. Theoretically, according to lots of researchers, it'll eventually flatten out. Like we won't be able to keep advancing, but right now we're in a really peak time, especially over the last 15, 20 years, where that's changing. So I think companies are realizing we don't want to just fill roles anymore. We want people that are going to help us get to 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Even if we don't have a plan for that, we know that it's going to require a lot of different soft skills and abilities that are not locked into a specific role or a specific type of job.
When we're talking about AI and sort of all these technological changes and just environmental changes within the workforce, It seems like it has changed so quickly, and within a few months, things change drastically. How do you quantify what it is to succeed or to thrive in that scenario, in that environment?
I think this is a question that everybody always wants an answer to, and there is no set answer. Every client has a different measure for success. Timelines look different for everybody. Well, what would success be? Why do we need to get it done? If so, what skills do we need to get it done? And it's almost like doing a SWOT analysis, or looking at like you're doing like a company-wide job analysis or competency model. When you start a project, what do we need to get done? But at the end, how are we going to evaluate success? Now, again, Sebastian, it's really easy to say, like, this is success if you have a hard number, but sometimes it's not a hard number. So you have to have placeholders. You have to have things that are acting as measures of success. And I think I like said KPIs earlier, something like
Mhm.
that for a different department, for a project, for a company. What are we hoping to achieve 3 months from now, 6 months from now? You can even overlay things like the Kirkpatrick model over things like, are we looking for behavior change? Are we looking for a hard outcome? Are we looking for behavioral intentions? Are we looking for people to just gain knowledge? Like, there's steps along the way. But I think sometimes people want to get to the last step. Like, we want everything to change. That's not really
Right.
possible. You set baby steps, baby goals, measure them as effectively as you can, and then that'll get you to the place where you want to go. Obviously, the harder the metric you can come up with, the easier it'll be to verify if you're making progress. Lack of progress doesn't mean you're not succeeding. But I think with each client, what are you really trying to do? And I ask them, and then I work with them with what they have, what have they used in the past, and what would make sense given their industry or given their competitive set. What would they like to do in the future? So there's no one size fits all answer. It's not easy, it's consultative, and unfortunately, it takes time and energy. But if you set that and then you succeed, or even if you don't, and you retool and you iterate and you do it again, you'll get quicker to the end of the cycle or the goal, and you'll get success sooner, and you'll get there more efficiently. And hopefully, along the way, you learn what you want or what you need, and that'll also help you to hire people or decide what your company's direction would be, and allow you to bring in the technology and what you've done along with people who we still need. But like I said, now we need to figure out the differences in people and the differences in skills based on what the outcomes are. And the outcome might not be a certain profit level or a certain growth anymore, because that might not be possible. Again, you said it. Even the last few months have been very different. The economic outlook has changed. So I think companies have to change how they do things, and that obviously starts from the top down.
How is education shifting to address those challenges?
Changes move slowly. Higher education in the United States is definitely not a quick changing entity. There are smaller places that try to do things, but the large prestigious schools, state institutions, even the large private schools, change can't happen overnight. But in a handful of years, there's been a lot more change than there was the decade or two before, and certainly in the decades way before that. The skills need to be changed. The problem is we're not set up for that. We've always hired for, you build a technical skill, hard skills, and then they translate. But now it's more application of some hard skills, but a lot of soft skills, and the ability for people to be flexible and have different sorts of abilities that are just not how we've usually and traditionally looked at work and education for the major part of, like, since the Industrial Revolution. They're trying, as we work towards being more applied, more vocational, soft skills, communication, flexibility, as we teach people more just organization, life skills, the conscientiousness you get sometimes from going through higher
Mhm.
education. Those things will help people be more ready for whatever the future holds, because they'll be more malleable and flexible, as opposed to the old way of, like, I went to business school, I'm an accountant, I can be an accountant. Now, the computer program is going to do the accounting. So what could I do that makes me valuable in some other set where I can learn the things I need to learn and work with the technology as it grows? We'll get there. I think there's definitely, the next few years are going to be a painful back and forth as we try to figure out how we live with technology the way it is, and how we also revamp our education system all the way from preschool to graduate school, postdocs, in a way that'll make people more ready for the future of work. There'll be much less jobs, and there'll be much less specialized going forward.